Happy Monday. Welcome back to the Janelle Villiers Podcast. My name is Janelle. I'm your host. Happy to have you guys here. For those of you who are watching for the first time, what I love talking about is helping people with tips and tricks for how to write your book, how to edit your book, how to self-publish your book, all of those things. Because I know a lot of people have book ideas in their head and in their heart, and it's scrambled all inside, and you just need some help to get it out there and impact a lot of people in a positive way. And so if we're not talking about that, what I also love doing is I also love interviewing other authors. So that way you guys can hear from other authors about what their journey was like and hear a little bit about the impact that they're making in the world and how they're helping people. And so I'm really excited because today is one of those days. It's not just me and you. I actually have a guest on today. I'm really excited. Our topic, those of you who know I love doing topics. Today's topic is the mortgage secrets nobody talks about. What are those secrets? I want to know. I'm actually in the middle of selling my home here in New York. And so, yes, there are lots of different things that I think we need to know, or maybe we don't understand. So maybe there's some myths, and I think all of us would like to get some more information on that. So obviously, it's not going to be me giving you the answer to these types of myths and questions. I have a guest on with me who is a mortgage broker. He is an author, and also he's his own host for a podcast and a YouTube channel. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait to bring to you Dante Royster.
Now, if you're buying an $894,000 house, 5% down, you're a conventional borrower. You're not jumbo. So right. we're so competitive from that level.
Yeah.
Yes, there he is, Dante. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. That was great.
I love the intros. They always get me like amped, like, oh, this is going to be good.
I know you put some work into it, so I appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we want to help folks out. So I would love to ask you just firstly, like, were there any personal experiences that you've had with any clients or anything that you've seen that made you think, man, I really need to write this book so that way, I can help a lot of people?
Yeah, I would probably say it's a compilation, the body of work. I've been doing this for now over 2 decades. And so it was kind of just a situation that I was getting the same questions, a couple of years ago that I was still getting, 20 years ago. So, just really understanding that, just having the reflection that so many people have questions, and these are, in my eyes, generic basics that you should know. And so many people don't know them because our school systems have really let us down on how to live, how to buy a house, sell a house. So these were the things where I was like, you know what, let me just put some basics in here. Every situation, every scenario will be different, but at least some just generic things that people should know and be aware of, no matter where you are in the country.
So a lot of this came from this desire of wanting to share your experiences, recognizing that what you think is commonplace actually isn't, and wanting to get that information out there. So I wonder then, did you ever struggle with like imposter syndrome, or maybe even second guessing whether people would want to read the book about mortgages?
No, I guess my ego said, no, everyone wants to read this book. That's what I assumed. I was like, hey, everyone needs this book, right? It's so important. It's got this great information. Obviously, if you rely on your mom's opinion, hey, it's a great book, that you assume that, it's for the world. So, I had the opposite. And then, the reality set that, wow, not everyone knows who I am. Not everyone knows where to go to get the book and that this book is available. So, I have to do a little bit more work on letting people know. But to your point, no, I definitely felt like this is something everyone's going to want to
buy. Well, I'm sure there are many of the people watching are probably thinking, man, I don't know if I have that much confidence to feel that way. So for you to have that kind of confidence going in probably is a godsend, because to work from that frame of mind is a lot easier than to work from the mindset of like, oh, I don't know, is this good enough, right? You tend to put off the writing when that's the case, right? And then it takes forever. So I love that. I love that you actually went in there with like, yeah, I'm about to write something that's about to change people's lives. And yes,
Exactly.
we're going to do this. People are going to buy it and they're going to love it and all the things.
Well, extreme is never good, right? Any extreme. So, I probably was on the extreme side of, hey, everyone's going to buy this. I got the harsh reality of what it is. But so yeah, definitely it was a great opportunity. I had the opportunity to do something I always wanted to do, check mark off the bucket list.
Okay.
I do, just naturally. My mom was a teacher, and just I have
Mm.
teacher and educators in my family. My wife's a teacher. So it's just one of those things. I like to educate. I like to help people. I thought it was a great opportunity where I can do my part. And that's why the book is here.
So I'm curious then, how did you, sorry, like note to self, I did notice that you said that it was a bucket list item for you to like, oh, write a book. That is very common. The New York Times, I don't know if I shared this with you off stage, but the New York Times did a study of adults in America and asked them, do you have a dream of writing a book? And 81% of adults in America have a dream of writing a book.
I did not know that, but it makes sense. I mean, we all have our own unique stories, our own journeys,
Mhm.
and they are interesting. When I tell my story to somebody else, they're like, wow, that's fascinating. Or let me tell you about so we're always fascinated with other people's stories.
Mm. True. Very, very true. And to that end, only 5% actually do it though. So
Exactly. Well, yeah, and so when you have the opportunity, and I just thought it was a time, especially in the marketplace. We're in this business. I could see the transition that was kind of coming on right now, where everyone's moving into this digital world, and I just thought the
mm.
story first was probably the best route for me to go to really introduce myself to the world. Like, hey, I have this knowledge, and let me put it here, and let's start from there.
No, I love that, because you can reach more people with a book than you can like in your office, or you're right,
Right.
like you can share as much as you can, but somebody can get access to your knowledge and wisdom in a book when you're not even around. So that makes a ton of sense. Okay, so then in that case, I'm really curious, how did you balance storytelling with like technical information?
It was challenging. That was the hard part because I didn't want to get too techie,
Mhm.
to all the nuts and bolts. I wanted to keep it fun, but one of the things that was different for me was that I have 2 decades of experience. So I've been doing this since 2002. I have, and I've been fortunate enough to work with clients every month of that, of that journey. So I have tons and tons of stories, and so
Mhm.
those were kind of the antidotes. As I gave something of a definition, then I explained, here, Joe and Sue went through this, and Kate and Tom went through this. So I really try to break it down with, here, let me give you, the factual, the definition, but then let me
Mhm.
explain how it really is practical in day-to-day lives.
So I feel like that's actually really helpful, right? To kind of like unpack this idea that you just generated with the story, right? And then like let's like show you how this actually gets done.
Mhm.
So let's get into some of that for a minute.
Sure.
What's one of the biggest myths about mortgages that you wanted this book to help bust?
The first and most important thing would be that it's more than just an interest rate. I mean, most times when you talk about mortgages, everyone's like, "What's your rate? What's your rate? What's your rate?" But to me, it's more about the overall product and what you're choosing for you. And so many times when it's just what's about the rate, that will generally have you go to credit unions and banks, and
Mm,
that's just a natural assumption to go as, "Oh, I need something, I need to go to my bank." But they're really looking for cookie cutter situations and scenarios, and they're kind of being, what's the best way to probably say it, they may not have the best options for you.
mm,
They don't do renovation loans. And
mm,
some people, that I talk to, oh, I didn't know you could do renovation loans. Yeah, we can do it
mhm,
on primary and investment properties.
hmm,
Oh, we can do fix and flip loans. We can
hmm,
do a lot of strategies. We can do Airbnbs. So a lot of people don't know what's available out there. And
mm.
that really overall hurts their financial, portfolio of what's possible.
Mm. Yeah, because even what you're saying, I'm like, oh, you're making me think about something. Like the fact that you even said like Airbnbs, I thought that was like not a thing.
See? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's just, it's the thing is, I think, I just recently turned 45.
Mhm.
I always, and so, there's a concept where it was the first time in my life when I turned 45, I realized I was closer to 60 than I was 20.
Mm.
And so it was one of those things that kind of hit me. And I was like, okay, I am kind of close to this retirement thing that they talk about, right? In your 60s,
Mhm,
somewhere around
mhm,
there, I am getting closer to that mark. So, I started thinking about my retirement portfolio, how it needs to look. What do I need to do? Am I on pace? Am I not on pace? Most people are not on pace. They're well
mhm,
behind. And
mhm,
so if you are, you don't have to be discouraged about it. It is what it is. Life be lifing. But
mhm,
now we have to start making these steps in the right direction. And so I'm just a person that says, if you know more, we need to do more. And so this is just, everything that I talk about, and I preach about is stuff
mhm,
that I actually implement myself.
mm. That's so interesting. Okay, so okay, first of all, if you're watching this and you're finding this valuable already, please put a V in the comments for value. And if you have any specific questions for Dante, please go ahead and put those in the comments. I'll make sure that he answers your question today. So please do that. Um, so I think one of the things that like you emphasize is that mortgages are really about building a life, not just a loan. So can you unpack that a little?
Yeah, no, I think a mortgage is basically a product, right? It's a product and it's a service that really helps you change or adapt to your lifestyle. I tell my team that I work with, I said, we're in the lifestyle business. That's truly
Mm,
where we are. There's a difference of living in Colorado versus New York. There's a difference of living in Florida versus Illinois. And
mhm,
so if I help you move to one of these states, that's going to drastically change your lifestyle. From
mm,
obviously, we're starting to go into November, right? So now we're in the winter season.
mhm,
That's a different animal to deal with being in Chicago versus being in
mhm,
Tallahassee, Florida.
mhm,
So really it's a dramatic change, and that affects your lifestyle. It affects where your kids go to school, your friends, things that you talk about. If I live in Orlando, I'm worried about the hurricane. What hurricane
mhm,
Julie is coming? But if
mhm,
I'm in Illinois, I'm talking about tornadoes. So everyone brings different elements, and so
mhm,
really a mortgage helps you move. I mean, so what is a mortgage? A mortgage is money that's earmarked for you to buy. And so when you buy a house, because most people don't have $300,000, $600,000 to buy a home, they have to get a
mhm,
mortgage, which ultimately is a loan. And so with that loan, you buy this place and it's going to change your lifestyle and adjust. So, I really feel like, we're in the lifestyle, kind of category.
hmm. I've never thought of it that way, but that makes a ton of sense. Do you feel like perhaps even looking at your own finances? When did you write the book?
2023. So 2 years ago.
I'm just thinking about what you said about like, oh man, I'm closer to 60, 65 than I am to 20. And so I wonder if in writing the book, if it's changed how you deal with your finances personally in any way, or maybe not.
Always. I mean, I would say this, in my role, right? I have somewhat of a fiduciary responsibility, right? I want to make sure I take care of you, so then ultimately you would refer me to someone else that you know. That's how you really kind of
Mhm,
grow in this industry.
mhm,
Referrals and word of mouth are still, 85% of small businesses.
mhm,
And so, building that relationship with you and helping you and guide you with strategy and really understanding where you are financially is going to, create this relationship that you're like, man, this guy was so great. I'm
mhm,
going to tell my friends, my family, my coworkers all about this guy. And so that's how the business overall kind of flowers and works. So having that, I have to be kind of a role model. right? I
Mm.
have to be someone that you kind of, see and say, wow, look at what he's doing. So, I don't want to be a guy that just talks about it. I got to actually do it. I got to do what I actually say I'm going to do, and show you things that I'm doing that's benefiting me, and saying, hey, have you considered this? So, I'm more of a guidance counselor. And so I think with that responsibility that I have, with you as a client, potentially, it would be a situation where, I do respect that, and I want to make sure I carry myself accordingly.
That's actually really good to hear. Yeah, because it's the best teachers are the ones who almost model for you, right? Like, this is how you can do it. Oh, look, see, I'm doing it, and now you can do it too.
Facts. Versus
So,
me not doing anything, sitting here a certain way, and it's like, well, I mean, this is what the book said, but I don't know.
yeah.
It's like, yes, I've bought and sold properties. Yes, I've
Mhm,
bought condos, and I've bought storefronts, commercial and residential. So I bring a vast knowledge of the real estate industry. I've been
mhm,
a property manager for 10 years. I am a landlord. So, these are things and experiences that I can bring to the table to give you more insight. So, yes, the product is mortgages, but when you're working with someone, I think you want more than just, hey, my rate is this.
mhm.
You want some expertise with it, and that's what I bring as value.
I love that. Well, so then if someone is listening right now and they're preparing to buy their first home, what do you think would be the first step that they should take before even talking maybe to a lender even?
Yeah, I mean, you want to do some research on your own, right? You want to kind of use the chat GPT, right? You want to type in, hey, I want to buy my first house. What do I do? And
Mm,
you want to, and they'll give you those lists of items and bullet points. You may want to read my book, The Ultimate Mortgage Guide. Have a sense of just a beginning, just to have an understanding of what's available for you.
mhm,
Because are you buying an existing home? A home
mhm,
that's already there, or you're buying new construction? Those are two different animals, and there's pluses and minuses with both of them. So you have to kind of, first, before you even meet a lender or meet a realtor, you're wanting to, just understand the lay of the land, because this was, once again, stuff that wasn't really offered or given to us in school. So we don't
mhm,
really know. We're going off a lot of hearsay. Well, my mom bought a house or my cousin bought a house, so let me try to get the tidbits from them. But their tidbits are not you, and they're not
mhm,
your unique. Some people
mhm,
think, hey, I'm a truck driver, and I got my CDL license, and they don't pay me a W-2. I get a 1099. Some of them think I can't buy a house, and that's incorrect.
mhm,
You can. Some people like, oh, well, I write off everything on my tax returns. Doesn't matter. We have alternative income programs. So there's just a lot of stuff that people don't know that's available to them. And then
mhm,
that can hold you back. And then if we, wrap it all the way around back to the beginning of just, talking about retirement, you know, this is one of the things that can help you grow wealth, is by
mhm.
having assets. We need to
Mhm.
get more into buying assets and not liabilities. And what's, a great asset would be obviously real estate.
Agreed. My parents have been trying to drill that into me for quite some time.
It's just one of those things. I just, I said this earlier today, and I'm really starting to try to hypothesize this, but I said life is really a mathematical equation,
Hmm.
and that's what that's kind of I'm starting to process that more. I might have a monologue about that one of these days, as I can kind of bring it out. But math is, life is a mathematical equation, and we just have to really know the variables that you plug into it and make it work.
So we may not have talked about this. So I majored in bioengineering in undergrad. So the minute you start talking about mathematical equations, I'm like, tell me more. What do you mean by that? How is that? Because I used to find it fascinating that they would turn certain bodily things that happen in biology now are like became mathematical equations. I was like, how did they do this? Like it's biology, it's not math. But I say that because I'm listening to you and I'm like, I can't help but to be reminded of that. What about life is a mathematical equation? You talked about variables. You need to know what variables to put in. What are
Sure.
these variables that you're
I mean, where do you want to live? What
okay?
is going to be your job?
Okay.
What is your family dynamics? You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be married. You don't have to have kids. I mean, but what do you
Mm-hmm.
want? So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the wants and needs out of life have
Mm-hmm.
to be answered in this mathematical equation. Sometimes we stay too long in a place because of emotions. Our
Mm-hmm.
emotions get the best of us. You've heard that, obviously. And so we emotionally get tied to something, but it may not mathematically be the right choice for us. you
Mm-hmm.
know if you're 65 years old and your house, let's say you have a $800,000 house and you owe $200,000, but this house has so many great memories.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the best scenario is to sell the house and then pay cash for the new home because you can downsize. But
Mm-hmm.
our emotional ties to the house won't allow us to let go, even though mathematically that's the best thing that we really should do for ourselves.
Thank you for this explanation. This now is clicking. It makes a lot of sense now. Okay, so I love that you brought up an example. Is there, I mean, I know you talked about some people, obviously, in your book, some real stories.
Mhm.
Is there one that stands out as especially memorable or meaningful to you?
Probably my first deal. My first deal, I'll always remember. It was a situation. I kind of explain when I first got going. If you ever seen the movie like Boiler Room or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that,
I did.
yep. So that's like real life. That's how it was. It was dialing for dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Very kind of a locker room esque type of feel.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all about, at the end of the day, it was all about trying to be on top of the list, right? Everyone is alpha and everyone's competitive and everyone wants
Mm-hmm.
to not have their name at the bottom of the list. And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
really understand wholeheartedly when I first got going what I was doing. I just knew I had to get people to say yes and move along through the process.
Mm-hmm.
But really, as I got older, I was able to reflect on my very first deal and just understand like how I impacted their life, in a
Mm-hmm.
positive way, of
Mm-hmm.
saving money per month, paying off debt. It was a debt consolidation refinance, and I probably saved them over $800 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And the tears that Miss Booker had, I will always remember, because that was the first time I really understood like a win-win relationship
Mm-hmm.
where I was compensated to help her, and as long as I was able to do that, it was a win-win. She benefited from me and I was able to provide that service for her. So it's always given me it's always given me satisfaction, and that's what I try to do every day,
Mm-hmm.
is really try to make it win-win relationships, where it's like, hey, my job's to help you. What do you want to achieve, whether it's the first your first home, your first investment property, or getting you out of a bad situation before it gets worse.
Mm. I love that because at the end of the day, that is what it's about. It's about help using our skill sets to like help other people, right? Like,
Sure.
I love that. Well, as we're bringing this in for a landing, I just want people to know that you're a real person. If people have questions and they want to get in touch with you, I want to make sure that they can. So if you're on IG right now, you can find Dante at Epic Mortgage. He is there. You can find him there. If you're on Facebook right now, you can find him, Dante Royster. That's him. That's his name. If you
No
want to hear
AI.
more information from him, he's giving out a ton of free information on his YouTube channel, Epic Spotlight. He's also on LinkedIn, Dante Royster, and there is his website, DanteRoyster.com.
Way too much.
All of this is in the description. If you're on Facebook, it's going to be above this video. If you're on YouTube, it's below this video. Instagram, sorry, you're just going to have to go. But he's a real person. He will respond. He'll answer all of your questions. And so, Dante, as before you leave us, this is my last question for you. If the viewers if you could leave the viewers with one key takeaway from the book, from the Ultimate Mortgage Guide, what would it be?
It's not all about the interest rate. It's about other components that we referenced today in this show. So, just be mindful. Yes, everyone, of course, wants the lowest interest rate possible, but you don't have that same energy when it's your car, when it's your credit cards, so keep the same energy if that's what your focus is going to be. But there's more that you need to know as far as different products that are available for you.
Love it. It's more than just interest rate. And I love that same kind of energy. Look, guys, go get his book, The Ultimate Mortgage Guide, How to Secure the Best Mortgage, Not Just the Best Rate. The link for the book is also in the description above if you're on Facebook, below if you're on YouTube. And I look forward to people reaching out to you and asking you questions, and for you to be able to just help more people. You're right. You gave a wonderful response that a mortgage is a life. You're like helping people with their lives. And I love that. That's amazing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being on the show. And so for everyone else, I will be back next week. Same place, same channel. I look forward to seeing you guys then. Until then, have a great week, everyone. Bye.